What's up, everybody? Welcome to Geology. So for week 3, let's go a little bit more into mapping, which I think if you did the week 2 work, which if you haven't yet, go do that ASAP. Um, Given that we did some topographic mapping in week 2, I'm hoping that the geologic mapping thing in week 3 kind of flows and makes sense. There's definitely a couple tricky questions in here, so there's some times where if you get stumped, please email. It's kind of a situation where it's like chicken or egg thing. Like, do we talk about all this geology and then talk about the maps, or do we talk about the maps and then unwrap some of the geology? Either way, there's going to be a little bit of confusion in some way, right? Hopefully, and I went through these questions and I weeded a few out. Hopefully, what's in here we can make heads or tails of. And if not, email me. And this will be a good chance for, like, if you email me, I'll try to post something to the whole group, because if one person's confused, chances are somebody else is. So let's talk about it. What are we doing here? Geologic maps, you're going to notice they do look a lot like topographic maps, only they're colored and they're labeled, and that's going to be the difference, showing us the bedrock types. So this is the actual lab over here on this part of my screen that you'll be working on, though I whittled some of it out. This is another teacher lent this to me. So I'd like to, once you do it, you're going to try those, right? You're going to look at that. This link right here opens up this map, and I think this is a good place to do a general overview of what the heck are we looking at here. Zooming in and out is going to be helpful. So these colors are going to relate to the different formations, and what you'll do is look for things like this, GD. Those little 2-letter codes are usually how it's done. BA. All right, then you come over here, and they're going to match up with what you see over here. Okay, so it might take a minute to go over there, find it, and come back, but that's the basics on how it will work. They also tend to set these things up. Let's just make sure. Okay, so they go for, this is going to be the oldest right here, Upper Precambrian. Those are separate. So over here, Upper Precambrian, up to Cambrian, and then it pops back down to the bottom of this. If they had more paper, they would have done it that way. Then we go from the picking up in the Cambrian up to the Devonian, unconformity there, up through the Carboniferous, up through the Permian. So we're getting younger and younger and younger as you go up. So basically starting here, this would be, I've got a little pen tool. This would be the oldest rocks, working your way up younger that way. You get to the top of the page. Whoop, where do I go back to the mouse? You get to the top of the page there, and that's going to be where you go back. Back down here to the bottom and keep it going. Sorry, a little clumsy with this. Back down here to the bottom and work your way up. They do have these as some igneous rocks that they're separate from how the rest work in there. So Cretaceous and Tertiary, those are Mesozoic. They'd be up here, but they keep the igneous ones separate. So again, that's gonna be one of the things where it's like, hey, we haven't talked about those rocks yet. So how do I know that? By watching this video, I suppose. Start there as you're older, work your way up, and then up through the sedimentary sequences, and then separately they stick those igneous ones in there. This lab will also have you finding some faults and some overturned things. And here's the symbology for how you're going to get out of those. It does a pretty good job of saying go exactly here and on this map and find it. Again, if confusion happens, email me. I'll try to help everybody out so that we can all fight through this thing together. Okay. Another thing they have here, this is neat. This is if they were to do a cross section. So from B to B prime, let me pause and find them on the map here. I didn't do that ahead of time. Okay. So they're on the sides right here. There's B prime. There's B. So if we were to take the Earth and slice into it and then pick it up and look at it from the side, what would these rocks look like from the side? And you're going to see everything matches. Like this chunk right here, GD, is right there. That chunk right there. So there it is going across it from the side. That's what the planet would look like in this section, sliced in cross section, in both cross section and profile view. Elevations listed over here, and then all of these rock layers will match the symbols that are used there, like we just saw with that one's there. Next to it is the light blue, MMZ. I'm sure it says it. Yep, it says it right there. Okay. Then you can come over here and figure out exactly what that is. One thing that's in the lab that I kind of thought about taking out, but also we can just explain it here and it's pretty easy. They asked for these folds. What type of fold is this and what type of fold is this? You'll have to read the lab to do the specifics. The two types we have, which we'll look at more when we do structures, are anticlines and synclines. And when I was in school trying to remember all this confusing stuff, the anticlines kind of look like the top of the letter A. There you go. The synclines are the opposite. Okay, so the ones that are humped like that, anticline, the ones that are like that, syncline. It's going to ask which is which and ask you to match the letters using that key. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Okay, that's our broad overview. Let's shrink that back down. Fight through these questions. I did the same thing where I made an answer key. Yep, it's going to look like that, only it'll have a title. So page 4, answer those 4. Page 5, answer those 4, and so on. That should match up exactly. Part C, creating profiles in Google Earth. It's pretty neat. If you have the full Google Earth software, not the browser version, you have to have this. That's like a separate chunk of software. Since people have different computing situations, I decided not to do it mandatorily. If you want to check it out, it's kind of neat. If you want to skip Part C, then do that. And the answer sheet should indicate that. There won't be any answers for that. And then these 3 maps, they'll be in the folder in Brightspace, so you can grab those and with your image viewer zoom in and out to find these different things. And again, the questions might get a little tricky, but fight through them and email when you have any problems, and we'll get through this together. I'm thinking that's a good thing for this week. It's a shorter week because we didn't do anything yesterday with the holiday, and a 4-day week. If you could get this in, if it takes you through the weekends, maybe if we could get it done by Sunday. I'm also finally getting down how to set up the grade book here. I know that we're a little behind on that, but we'll make sure we get you some grades very soon after I unlock another thing or two and get this in there. So aim for Sunday so that when I come in on Monday, I see it. How about that? So if you're up late Sunday and you want to do it, of course, doing it earlier makes it easy so that you can ask some questions, but let's have that as the deadline. Sound good, folks? Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you as we go through the week. Take care.